The soft light of dawn filtered through the kitchen window, casting a golden hue over the small room where I stood quietly, waiting. The air smelled faintly of roasted beans and the comforting warmth of morning ritual, but beneath it, a strange, unsettling scent lingered, something chemical, almost metallic. I frowned as I watched him move around the kitchen, his movements automatic yet distant. My husband, the man I'd trusted with my heart and soul, was making me a cup of coffee. It should have been ordinary, routine, yet everything about that moment felt wrong. He handed me the mug with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, a smile that felt rehearsed, forced. I took the cup, fingers trembling slightly, and lifted it to my lips. The first sip hit my tongue, bitter and sharp, but the strange smell was undeniable. I pulled back, hiding my confusion. This coffee, it smells weird, I murmured, hoping he'd dismiss it. But his eyes flickered for a split second, a flash of something unreadable, guilt, maybe, shame, probably the new beans. He said too quickly, avoiding my gaze. I nodded, trying to shake off the unease, but the truth had started to seep in, dark and slow like the bitterness in the cup. Something wasn't right, not with the coffee, with him. Over the next few days, his behavior shifted further away from the man I knew. He became colder, less present. The way he avoided me in the mornings, the hushed phone calls that stopped when I entered the room, each little piece chipped away at the fortress of trust I'd built around us. I caught him once, glancing at his phone with a soft smile that wasn't meant for me, his fingers trembling just slightly as he typed a message. My heart clenched, but I didn't confront him, not yet. I was afraid of what I might discover, afraid of the pain that truth would bring. Instead, I became an observer in my own life, quietly gathering signs like a detective piecing together a dark puzzle. A lipstick stain on his collar, a vague excuse about late work nights, the way his eyes darted away whenever I asked simple questions about his day. And then, one morning, the coffee happened again. This time, I wasn't going to ignore it. The smell was stronger, almost chemical, like something had been added. I stared at the cup as if it held the answers, but he just smiled and said, "It's just a different blend, trust me." I did trust him once, but trust felt like a fragile thing now, cracked, bleeding, and barely holding on. The strange cup was a symbol, a warning. Something bitter had seeped into the fabric of our marriage, something I couldn't ignore any longer. I clenched my jaw, the hurt twisting into something colder, suspicion, determination. I would find out the truth no matter the cost. Because betrayal wasn't just about lies. It was about the poison they slipped into your life, disguised as something sweet. And I was done drinking from that cup. The days after the strange coffee grew heavier, charged with a silent storm brewing beneath the surface of our home. Every glance, every whispered word, seemed like a piece of a puzzle I wasn't quite ready to see, yet couldn't look away from. My husband, once so familiar and safe, had become a stranger. His charm replaced with cold indifference, his eyes avoiding mine as if I were a ghost haunting a life he wanted to forget. Then came the final piece of the puzzle, the one I never expected but somehow always feared. It was a quiet afternoon when I noticed her, the woman I thought I barely knew, my sister-in-law. She arrived under the guise of casual visits and family gatherings, but the warmth in her smile was counterfeit, hiding a secret shared with my husband. I saw it one evening when I was supposed to be out running errands. Returning home early, I caught them the way they leaned into each other, whispered words dripping with intimacy and betrayal. My heart shattered in that moment, a mirror cracking under the weight of their lies. My husband and my sister-in-law tangled in something cruel and irreparable. Shock rendered me silent at first. How could they? Why her? The questions swirled like a dark storm inside me, but beneath the heartbreak, a fierce, quiet resolve began to grow. I wasn't going to be the victim in their story. I wouldn't let them walk away unscathed. That night, as I lay awake, my mind raced with plans not of violence or anger, but of a sweet, biting revenge. A way to reclaim control, to make them taste the bitterness they had poured into my life. The idea struck me suddenly the next morning as we all gathered for coffee. I watched the mugs lined up on the table, the same mugs that had become silent witnesses to betrayal. I glanced at my own, the one my husband had made for me with that strange smell. A wicked thought curled in my chest. I swapped my mug with my sister-in-law's, careful to mask the action with a smile and a polite conversation. She didn't notice, distracted by her phone and the coy glances exchanged with my husband. The plan was simple: let her drink what was meant for me. When she took her first sip, the change was subtle but unmistakable. Her eyes narrowed, the pleasant facade slipping as the strange, chemical bitterness hit her tongue. I watched in silence as confusion flickered across her face, quickly replaced by irritation and a hint of fear. My husband noticed, too. The way he looked at me suddenly changed, a flicker of guilt, panic, and realization all at once. For the first time in days, his confident mask faltered. I held his gaze steadily, unflinching. The game had changed. They had poisoned our marriage with lies, but I was going to make them taste the bitterness of betrayal in return. It wasn't about cruelty. It was about justice, about reclaiming my dignity, one small act at a time. And as the room buzzed with uncomfortable silence, I felt a strange calm wash over me. The first step of my revenge had been taken, and this bitter brew was only the beginning. The silence after the mug swap was thick, like a held breath that finally trembled and broke. The small living room felt suddenly smaller, edges sharper, lights too bright. My sister-in-law's face had gone pale first. The color bled out of her cheeks as if the coffee had stolen it. My husband's jaw tightened, then loosened, then clenched again, as if he were trying to hold a secret-shaped animal inside his chest. "You okay?" my husband asked, the question brittle. It was the kind of question that hung in the air, asking for permission to be forgiven without apology. She swallowed. "It's odd, tastes funny." Her fingers trembled around the mug as if the ceramic itself might reveal the truth. She glanced at him, at me, searching for an anchor. There was no anchor to be found. I felt nothing dramatic then, no cinematic triumph, but a cold, clear clarity. The small, private victory of the mug swap had done what I couldn't force with accusation or pleading. It had exposed them. The mask had slipped. "What did you put in it?" my husband demanded suddenly, but the anger in his voice was raw and unpracticed. He was angry at the world, at the situation, at the inevitability of being caught. I realized then how little his bravado had ever been love, and how much it had been a performance. I had been applauding a role. I set my own cup down slowly, deliberately, and met his eyes. For months I had rehearsed confrontations in my head, lines to deliver, evidence to lay out, the perfect moment for moral righteousness. But those rehearsed words felt too small. They would not contain what I felt. What I wanted now was simple and precise: truth, consequences, and dignity. "Nothing," I said. My voice was quiet but not weak. "You made me coffee before, remember? It smelled different." I didn't say anything then. I let it go. I watched the pins of guilt prick his skin like thorns, watched his mouth form an answer, and then collapse into silence. "But I saw you with her. I came home early and I saw you. You don't get to do this and act like nothing happened." The room shifted. My sister-in-law's eyes filled, not with remorse but with the panic of someone newly exposed. She was young, or at least she'd let herself be young in ways that had nothing to do with age, careless, thoughtless, cruel in the softest possible way.